It's Tuesday, the 24th of March. From the MEN newsroom, this is Channel M's Lunchtime News, and these are today's headlines. The boy who proved the experts wrong. A healthy baby is born despite doctors advising his mum to have an abortion.
He just said, you know, the baby will have no form of life. Best advice I can give you would be to have a termination. Also this lunchtime, the murder that's still unsolved 5 years on. Andrew Boland's sister makes an emotional appeal on the anniversary of his death.
Not a day goes by without we don't question why, because we've got no answers. We don't know why they chose to take his life.
And Mancunian of the Year. Courageous cancer patient Tom Buckley beats Alex Ferguson and Chris Hoy to take the title.
It's quite overwhelming, really. You don't know how to react, really, but you know, I never set out to win awards or anything like that.
Good afternoon. First this lunchtime, a mother has given birth to a healthy boy even though hospital staff had recommended an abortion because they believed he had a genetic disorder. Baby Deacon is a picture of health as he nestles on his mum's lap. But he wouldn't be here if his parents had listened to a doctor at Rochdale Infirmary. An investigation is now underway after mum Dawn Lewis and her partner Jonathan Blemmings were wrongly told a scan showed Deacon had a condition that causes heart and kidney problems, leaving him with no quality of life.
You know, we were so excited. We tried for a baby for 4 years. At one point, we were having tests done by the doctors to try and figure out, you know, why we hadn't conceived and it was taking so long. So to find out that I was expecting was brilliant. And it was their routine scan, a 12-week scan at the infirmary, where they said they found problems. The doctor up there told us he was 99.9% certain that Deacon would have chromosome disorder 18, which was something, you know, it didn't mean anything to us, you know, it's like, what's that? We asked him to briefly explain what it was, and he just said, your baby will have no form of life.
Refusing to accept the diagnosis, the couple sought a second opinion at St Mary's Hospital in Manchester, where more sophisticated tests showed the baby didn't have any serious health problems.
I'm not taking this answer. We'll go to St Mary's and we'll get their verdict and then we'll decide. It's horrendous. The stress is unbelievable, you know. Everything, you know, the stress that the family's under, you know, and stress of decisions that, you know, possibly might have had to make, but you know, he's here now, he's healthy and well, so we're happy.
And a spokesman for Pennine Acute Hospitals, which runs Rochdale Infirmary, said they were conducting a full investigation into Dawn and Jonathan's complaint about the advice they were given, and they'll make a formal response when it's completed. Cancer sufferer Tom Buckley has been named Mancunian of the Year. At a party held in his honour last night, Tom's exceptional courage and determination were praised, as Tom revealed the total for his coast-to-coast walk to raise money for the Christie has now reached a staggering £82,000. Nina Warhurst was there.
Aged just 23, Tom Buckley was diagnosed with bone cancer and told he had just a few months to live. But Tom said he saw his illness as a way of making the most out of life, and in December he walked 180 miles, coast to coast from Cumbria to North Yorkshire in just 18 days. His initial aim was to raise around £500, but so far he's raised more than £82,000, and it's all going to the Christie, the Manchester institution he credits with giving him 4 extra years of life. And now Tom's courage has been recognised by the Pride of Manchester Awards. He beat off the likes of Alex Ferguson and Chris Hoy to be voted Mancunian of the Year, taking over from last year's winner, the late Tony Wilson.
It's quite overwhelming, really. You don't know how to react, really, but you know, I never set out to win awards or anything like that. At the end of the day, I just set out to give a little back to the Christies, and I'm no hero. Anyone can do what I've done. You know, they just have to spread the word and do it. You know, make a goal and go for it.
So what's next for Tom Buckley then?
Well, I was going to set off and do another big challenge. I'm going to do a bike ride, but my energy levels are not feeling too well at the moment. So I've joined a supporters group at Christie's. It's just been set up, and it's all aimed at like ideas and things for the Christie's.
He shows courage, fortitude, sense of obligation, loyalty to his own. What's good about your genuine Mancunians is they do have this way of sort of rolling with the punches and kind of living for the day, you know, trying to live in that eternal now.
Tom Buckley says while he's delighted to have won the award, he doesn't want to be called an inspiration or a hero. He says he's just someone who's trying to make the best out of a bad situation. But the thousands who voted for him online certainly wouldn't agree. One supporter said that this man has redefined the term courage. His attitude through these difficult times makes Tom an inspiration and a credit, not just to himself, but to Manchester and beyond. Nina Warhurst, Channel M News.
And after hearing that story, Noelle in Oldham has texted us to ask, why has Tom Buckley not got as much TV time as Jade Goody? She made money from her cancer. At least Tom has made money for the Christie. Well done, Tom. Thanks for your text, Noelle. And as ever, if you've got any comments on the stories we cover, or indeed a story you think we should be covering, you can always let us know by text or by email. Inflation figures released this morning have stunned experts. They were predicting a big drop in February, but it hasn't happened. Instead, the government's official measure of inflation, the Consumer Prices Index, actually went up by 0.2%. The other measure, the Retail Prices Index, which takes into account house prices, did show a drop to 0%, but economists had warned that it would go into minus figures. The RPI is used to set many wages and pensions in the private sector. The family of a man who was murdered 5 years ago today has made a fresh appeal to help find his killer. 35-year-old Andrew Boland from Stretford, seen here on holiday in America just days before his death, was shot in his home on Brigade Drive in front of his partner and her 2 young children. Since his murder, detectives have discovered evidence of a major drug-dealing ring involving some of his associates. Andrew's sister, Debbie, is this morning appealing for the wall of silence around his killer to be broken.
It's horrendous. You know, there's not a day goes by without we don't question why, because we've got no answers. We don't know why they chose to take his life. My mum desperately needs closure. We can't grieve as a family should do. I believe that there's hundreds of people out there that have got information. They perhaps didn't have the courage at the time to put pen to paper. They may have fell out with people now that they had links with 5 years ago. They know who they are. They know what they've done. How they can live with themselves on a daily basis, I've no idea. How would they like their mother to suffer like my mum's suffering? How would they like their children to lose a father? You know, surely they can show some kind of mercy and, you know, I'll just plead with them to, you know, come forward and help us if they can, if they have got a conscience.
A 19-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving after a cyclist was killed in Salford last night. Police have also recovered a red Volkswagen Golf thought to have been involved in the accident in which 18-year-old Adam Jarmer died. The car failed to stop after hitting Adam on Phoebe Street in Ordsall. Police are also looking for the driver of a blue Audi S5, which they believe was driving in tandem with the Golf. A film that's been made by young people to discourage underage drinking is being sent to schools across Greater Manchester. Beverly Walkden reports.
Underage drinking is such a problem these days. The authorities have turned to young people to find the solutions. One way has been to fund a film that portrays a depressed mother who turns to alcohol after the death of her husband. It's hoped the storyline will get young people talking about alcohol abuse.
Biology, about the liver and stuff. Mum, what's the tea?
I don't know, you're going to have to go and see.
Dwayne plays a bully in the film. For him, it marks the start of a career in acting.
So what message is the film trying to get across to young people?
I think the film was trying to get across a message of how alcohol can be destructive, and not only to the person that's drinking it with the health effects, the health side effects and the damaging effects of it, but also the people around it. Like, obviously Curtis's mum drinks in the film, but it affects his life a lot more than it affects his mum's life.
Things about you.
Mum, it's not that.
They should be in the job, them teachers.
Mum, you're not well.
I've a good mind to complain.
Oh, Mum, you're going to embarrass me.
The backers behind the film include Manchester City Council, funds from Comic Relief and Lime, a community arts project.
What happened when we were doing workshops across Greater Manchester was a lot of the young people we were working with pointed out, and quite rightly, that if their parents or adults that they knew were busy getting very drunk of a weekend, why shouldn't they? And they completely understood things like they couldn't drink till they were 18 and all the rest of it. But they were very clear that the kind of adult messages that they were getting was that this was acceptable. This is how society is now.
What's it going to be like when I get home? She could surprise me with a warm house.
The young people, the production crew and the artists have all now agreed that their film be incorporated into a pack. There you go, there's the DVD. Now this will be sent around to schools, hopefully reinforcing the message that alcohol abuse can seriously affect family life. Beverly Walkden for Channel M News.
And police are looking for a burglar who stole a gorilla costume. The monkey business was carried out at a house on Wilton Street in Whitefield on Saturday. Jewellery and a satellite navigation system were also taken. Time for a look at today's sport headlines now. Here's Sam.
Thank you, Ben. We'll start off with the Indian Premier League, and that continues to dominate the world of sport this morning, with South Africa, not England, emerging as the new favourites to host the tournament, which starts next month. IPL chairman Lailit Modi is in South Africa and will travel to England later this week to assess each country's facilities, with a decision within days. Should England receive the nod, Old Trafford is in line to host a number of games, and Lancashire's chief executive Jim Coombs has told us the ground will be ready.
The season, which is where some of the games will be played. We've got a reasonably slack start to our season here in April. Our championship games, most of our championship games are away at that time. So in that respect, we'd be a little bit luckier than most, I suppose. I believe there are 59 games. I mean, that's a lot of games to organise, a lot of wickets to prepare, and a lot of tickets to sell as well. So, but everything's feasible if you really want it to be. I firmly believe that. Well, the next stage really is to find out if this country's going to hold it. Then if this country's going to hold it, who's going to be involved, which is going to be a decision, I would assume, from the ECB. And then if and when they come to us and say, right, Lancashire, we'd like you to be involved, there are 8 games or there are 6 games, then we need the dates, and then we need to sit down here and organise it with our people here so as it runs as smoothly as possible.
And staying with cricket, former Lancashire skipper Stuart Law has signed for Derbyshire, allowing him to play one-day cricket, and it means he'll face his former employers in both the 2020 Cup and the Friends Provident Cup. Well, on to football, and Joe Royal takes his Oldham side to League One basement club Cheltenham tonight. He'll hand late fitness tester Chris Taylor and Danny Whittaker, while the home side will be without several first-team players. The new loan signing Frankie Artis is expected to start. In League Two, 5th place Bury travelled to Rotherham, knowing a win would lift them into 2nd place. New signing Phil Jevons has been named in Bury's squad, but Ryan Cresswell is suspended. And congratulations to Altrincham. They lifted the Cheshire Senior Cup last night after defeating Nantwich 3-0. And League Genesis have been given the go-ahead to move to the Leigh Sports Village Stadium with immediate effect. We'll hear from their new manager, former City player Gary Flitcroft, in the early evening news at 5. In ice hockey, the Manchester Phoenix have doubts over several players ahead of Thursday's knockout cup final second leg in Belfast. The Phoenix will be looking to replicate the form that beat Belfast 4-3 on Sunday.
Well, Belfast always give you a tough game regardless, and I think, to be honest, I think two teams did look a little bit tired. You just see teams never had the energy they normally have, and I think they sort of both battled the puck, especially on the ice tonight. I think two teams were battling there, and sort of Belfast had it sort of under pressure for a few spells here. We lost Luke Boothroyd to a face injury tonight. We lost Alex Dunn to an injury, and we lost Klutz, so we were sort of a bit behind the 8 ball, but it was nice to finish the season getting at least on a regular win. And we've got all to play for in Belfast. It's all tied, and again, we'll just have to go there and give it our best shot. It was a battle, to be honest. As I say, I'm not kidding ourselves on. We were holding on there for a little bit, but I mean, I have to give special mention to like Lucas and Nathan Ward, who went back in D, and they just done a great job. The forwards can come back and helped out, and as I say, it was nice to finish the season on a win, because you see we lost to Hull, we lost to Edinburgh, we lost to Newcastle, and we lost to Belfast in the Challenge Cup last week. So it was important for the guys to at least finish in a high, and hopefully we can take that into next Thursday, and we've got the playoffs after that, and I don't know, it's going to be tough, because I think it's going to be a tough schedule we've got coming in the next week again, but we'll give it our best shot.
And finally, Diego Forlan could be on his way back to Manchester, but this time in a blue shirt. It's been reported in some newspapers this morning that Manchester City have been quoted a figure of £30 million for the 29-year-old. And Wayne Rooney will not face a further ban after his sending off against Fulham. He'll now only miss the home game against Aston Villa on April the 5th. That's all from me for now. Join me again at 5 o'clock for all the latest sporting news from our region.
Thanks, Sam, and that's with Andy Crane in the evening news from 5 o'clock. Still ahead on the Lunchtime News, we meet the inspiring man who's been named Mancunian of the Year.
Anyone can do what I've done, you know, they just have to spread the word and do it.
Welcome back to Channel M's Lunchtime News. We're here every day between 12 and 1 with all Greater Manchester's headlines, and you can always check out our reports online at channelm.co.uk. On there right now, the two teenagers accused of plotting an explosion in Tameside and why time is standing still at Manchester Town Hall. That's all at channelm.co.uk. Some news just reaching us this lunchtime, and it looks like a crane has toppled over at a building site on Oxford Road just outside the city centre. We don't think anybody's hurt, but the police and fire brigade are on the way to the scene, and we'll bring you more on that in our early evening news at 5 o'clock. Now, we reported earlier on the death of a cyclist after a hit and run in Salford. There's now a warning that cyclists who are injured in road accidents could have their compensation reduced if they weren't wearing a helmet at the time, even if the accident wasn't their fault. A judge in a recent case said that failing to wear a cycling helmet could count as negligence. Nick Harrison is a solicitor who specialises in this type of case and is also a cyclist himself. Nick, thanks for joining us this lunchtime. Why has this change in the law come about?
Well, in the recent case, it was what the judge actually said in that case was that a cyclist who was injured and suffered brain injuries, and in future cyclists may have their compensation reduced if they fail to wear a helmet. So it's quite analogous to the situation with seat belts, where if people don't wear seat belts and their injuries are probably worse than they would be had they worn a seat belt, at the moment the law says that they may have their compensation reduced by 15 to 25%, but it's not actually against the law not to wear a helmet. So some people may be quite confused and upset by that case.
Now, I assume the key word in that sentence is may be reduced, and it sounds like it's down to the discretion of the judge in each case.
It would be, but I think what will happen is more and more defendant insurance companies will look to use this case to reduce what their outlay is in a case where somebody fails to wear a helmet. So it may well be that other judges will follow that decision if they are persuaded.
Do you think it's a fair change?
I think it's a difficult situation really to comment upon, because you have the sort of difference between the seatbelt issue is that it's not against the law not to wear a helmet. So on the one hand, you're being told that you ought to wear a helmet, you should wear a helmet, but it wouldn't be against the law to do that. So to have your compensation reduced may be seen as unfair.
OK, Nick Harrison, thanks very much for joining us this lunchtime. 7 schools in Oldham have been earmarked for closure after councillors met last night. They'll be replaced by 3 so-called academy schools and 1 new Roman Catholic school. Kevin Duffy has the details.
Yes, thanks, Ben. Now, Oldham Council has a plan, regeneration through education, and last night the latest phase of those proposals moved ahead. The council's proposing to close 7 secondary schools. Now, 5 of those are Caskenmore, Grange, Count Hill, Breeze Hill, and here behind me, South Chadderton, and replace those 5 schools with 5 new so-called academy-style schools. In addition, there's a plan to close 2 Catholic schools, Our Ladies of Royton and St Augustine of Canterbury, and replace those with a single Roman Catholic school on a new site. However, these proposals don't have the entire support of the National Union of Teachers, and with me is Tony Harrison of the NUT. Tony, just what is the NUT's objection to academy schools?
Well, first of all, I should say that we welcome the money. The BSF money is very welcome. I mean, you can look behind me and you can see a school here that does need the investment. Yes. The problem is that we don't think that we need academies in order to achieve that. We think that there are other ways of achieving that money. Right. The big problem that we have is loss of democratic control. At the moment, the people of Oldham own these schools via the council. And unfortunately, last night was a black day for Oldham because the council actually decided to sell off the family silver and sell off these schools. And that means, of course, that the people of the area no longer have any control or say over this school.
It is said, isn't it, by the DCSF and by Ofsted that academy schools are starting to show signs of raising standards in education.
Well, there is some evidence of some academies raising standards, but our research shows that many academies are not doing so. And the academies where they are having those successes are those academies which have manipulated their own admissions policy to ensure that they get the best type of pupils in the school. And so they're bound to perform better.
Tony Harrison, thank you very much. So, of course, this isn't just Oldham. This debate and this conversation about the future of secondary education is going to be happening across Greater Manchester as this Building the Schools for the programme rolls on. That's the government's plan, of course, to replace or refurbish all secondary schools in England by the year 2020. Back to you.
Thank you, Kevin. A review of home education is angering some parents who choose to teach their children themselves. Ministers are worried some youngsters who don't learn in traditional classrooms could be missing out. James Webster's been to meet one mum who teaches her 5-year-old daughter at home.
Well, at first glance, we could be in any normal classroom here. We've got books on the shelves to read, we've got posters on the walls, we've got lots of toys to play with, but this isn't a normal primary school classroom. Instead, this is actually the converted garage of CATHY MACDONALD, who teaches young Amber here each day. CATHY, just tell us, first of all, what made you decide to choose home education?
Oh, well, I wasn't happy with some of the local schools when it came to the time that Amber would have been starting. Some of her friends, I know, had already left because there were some problems there. And so I really had to look at another option, and one of the options was home educating.
Now, the government is currently having a review of home education, and they are saying that they're worried some children might not be getting the education that they need at home. What would you say to that criticism?
Well, I think it's unfortunate that a lot of children come to home education because they're not getting the education they need within the school to start with. I don't see why home educating should be any different for providing education for children, and I think it's very successful, and there's been a lot of research that supports that.
And as well, what about the criticism that children like Amber could be missing out on things that they would get if they were in a traditional school environment?
I think they've got more opportunities being outside of school because they can do more activities, extend on the curriculum, and they can follow their own interests and get more personal support and one-to-one time that you can't get within a classroom.
OK, CATHY, thank you very much indeed. Well, this is clearly very much working for CATHY and for Amber, and there are 50,000 children like Amber who are educated at home all the time. The government's not planning on taking away parents' rights to offer a home education, but what they do want to make sure is that children who aren't sent into formal schools do get the education that they need. James Webster, Channel M News.
Thank you, James. And with a look at the day's weather now, here's Michelle Eagleton.
Well, I hope you've got your brolly to hand because you are going to need it this afternoon, I'm afraid. We are expecting a few showers, some blustering wind as well, creeping in from the westerly direction, and highs of between 8 and 9 degrees. Now, the rain should clear up overnight. It is making a return tomorrow and Thursday. It's going to be very, very rainy on Wednesday and Thursday. It should dry up some more on Friday, mixture of sunshine and showers. And you see that picture on Saturday, a lovely clear day with highs of 6 degrees.
Lunchtime News. Andy Crane's here from 5 with the early evening news. Join him then if you can, but from me and the Lunchtime team, thanks for watching. Goodbye.